Hey everybody, Vice here. Remember when I was hinting at doing a certain review a couple of times a long while ago?
This has been Vice, and I don't know what's next. I need some space. They're gonna have that space I've been wanting. Although I could go into the underground.
Well, it's finally time to do that. However, instead of doing a review of only the first game, I'm actually going to do a history review of sorts. Now, I'm just going to get this out of the way now. Don't expect this to be a very large breakdown of the series. I'm not going to talk about the names of devs, programmers, graphic designers, and things like that. I'll talk about, what year, how well things went with the game, how much it might have made at the time, what choices were done, things like that. So there will be some history for each game, but it's not going to be like a grab a popcorn and watch a 2-hour documentary type video. At least I hope not. I'll also talk a small bit of my history with each game, if any, and how I feel about them. Anyway, it's finally time to talk about that mining spaceship underground FPS game series known as the Descent series. The game was made by Parallax Software and Interplay. They started working on it in April of 1993, but finished it and released it in March of 1995. This game was released for PC's DOS, but was later released for the Mac and PlayStation. More on the different versions later. The story is that you are a mercenary hired to destroy planets like Freezer. I mean, it's up to you to figure out why these mining robots have gotten hacked. The solution? To go into these mines, blow up the reactors, and get out before the mine blows up with you on it.
Blows up?
Gameplay is similar to Doom, though let's be fair, even today if the game has guns in it, you're getting compared to Doom. Though in this case, it's easy to know why. You control a spaceship trying to find weapons for it, trying to find blue, yellow, and red keys for the same colored doors. Take down the power reactor in the red door room, then head for the exit. When you take down the reactor, a timer starts to hurry up to find said exit. Also, there are some people to save if you want to go for an extra score. Difficulties for the game are Trainee, Rookie, Hotshot, Ace, and Insane. The game had a budget of $450,000 and a marketing budget of $1 million. At the very end of its development, they were about to give up on adding multiplayer, but after learning about Doom and its multiplayer, they decided to push forward with their own multiplayer modes. During pre-release, there were some complaints about how some robots got their health back when you died. You also couldn't even save in-game, and it only saved for you between levels. These, of course, were fixed for main release. When released, Descent was a complete success. Reviewers did indeed end up comparing it to Doom and loved its 3D graphics and its special movement. One complaint, and one that you'll hear a lot during these games, is that you won't like it if you suffer from motion sickness. The gameplay is supposed to be fast-paced, dodging attacks, so I understand why this complaint is a thing. Another also praised the graphics during the time and compared it to the movie that was also coming out during the time of 1995, Toy Story. What? Yeah, that completely threw me off. That is such a weird comparison to make. Also, we now know that both Descent 1 and Toy Story 1 came out in 1995. Feeling old yet? Speaking of releases and the timing, let's talk about the other versions. The Apple Mac version had an exclusive music track called the Red Book Audio. This was full music tracks instead of the normal MIDI style that you hear a lot. The PlayStation version is weird. First, it decided to update the intro from just a picture and text to a full opening cutscene. We'll talk about why this is a mistake shortly, unfortunately. Second, this version most of the time can lag horribly. It also can have a bunch of input lag. It felt like it was there just to be there, and that was actually the case. They apparently refused to port to the PlayStation unless they got a full motion cutscene for the game, just like a lot of the other games on that system. This caused the problem when the game would not want to run properly. They almost gave up, but they somehow looked out at the last minute and got it working. Sadly, like I stated, the PlayStation version doesn't run that well, and even when it does, expect input lag. However, there were plans to release the games onto other consoles. Sega 32X, the 3DO, the Panasonic M2, the Sega Saturn, and even the Nintendo 64. All these didn't happen, however. Why? Because the PlayStation part was way too difficult. What? You mean to tell me that full motion video takes way up more space than a couple of pictures and text? No, duh! Even back then that should have been obvious. What's not obvious, however, is the last version that didn't happen. Apparently, way into the future past the 2000s, in 2010, there was going to be a port of the game for the Nintendo Wii and its WiiWare. No idea why that version didn't happen, though. I will say, though, that trying to control a game like that with the Wii motion sounds horrible. Now, what's my history with Descent 1? Just like about 90% of the PC games back then, I watched my mom play the game. Now we both ended up finding the game too difficult back then, and decided to use cheat codes. Mostly the invincibility and invisibility codes. Later on, when I would play it more often, I played it on the easiest settings without codes. Also, we never knew about the secret levels. Nowadays, I still play on the easiest setting and without cheats. I clearly know about the secret levels now. Also, no motion sickness at all when playing the game, so I'm good on that front. Now, before we move on to the next game, there was a cool bonus CD that later got released called Descent Levels of the World. Apparently, there was a contest of sorts which was held with over 100 winners were selected. So this bonus CD has over 100 extra levels to play, though some were apparently multiplayer only. I only remember playing maybe like 1 or 2 levels from this, one of which I couldn't beat because I think it was multiplayer only or something. My memory of playing levels of the world might as well not even exist. On to the next game, Descent 2. This came out in 1996 and once again was made by Parallax Software and Interplay. After completing our mission from the first game, we head back to collect our money reward. Of course, because of some contract small print loophole nonsense, we're basically forced to do the same thing all over again. Descent 2 is basically the same game all over again, but improves on almost everything. Better graphics, cooler level ideas, etc. Though there are a couple of new things. There are now key panels that you can find on walls that will unlock different things like doors, hidden doors, force fields, and more. Usually at the start of levels, you can now rescue a guide bot to help you take where you need to go at the current time. Need the yellow key? It'll take you there. Need to find the red door? It'll help. Then there's the last new thing, the thief. This enemy robot will try to follow you around and try to steal your stuff. More on that later. The budget for this is only $50,000 more than the first game for a total of $500,000. The marketing budget is, it doesn't seem to be anywhere. I couldn't find any info about that. I'm guessing the success of the first game and just announcing the sequel is enough marketing. When released, Descent was a massive success. It was considered one of the best sequel games of all time, next to, and you guessed it, comparing it to Doom 2. They once again loved the graphic upgrades and its gameplay. Once again, the same issues of motion sickness is a thing because of said movement and speed if you can't handle that. However, there was one complaint, and honestly, to me, this made no sense at the time. The complaint? The multiplayer mode wasn't good enough because of the lack of outdoor levels. What? Two things. First, there wasn't any outdoor levels in the first game because the point of the game was to be in the mines underground, which the opening of the game says it's basically more of that. Second, the first game already had a couple more open space rooms, and this sequel has a lot more of them, so it doesn't really need outside levels when the rooms are almost as big as the outside space anyway. There is a PlayStation version called Descent Maximum. It's apparently more than just a port because it has more levels than the PC version. The lag and input issues are seemingly still there though. The only real improvement is extra pickups, and that's it. Also, all versions of Descent 2 have the Red Book audio. My history with Descent 2 starts off the same as the first game. My mom and I would use cheats to get through the game, but we had to spam the cheats even more because of a certain thief. This is where we're talking about the new annoying bugger. The thief robot can not only steal weapons, but it can steal your invis and invincibility shields. The way the cheats work is that if you just give you an item, as if you just picked it up normally around the map, just with shields having no time limit. This means even with cheats, Thief Bot can just steal it off you, and you can still get killed if unlucky. So yeah, we had to keep inputting the cheats over and over again. Nowadays, I once again don't use cheats. Now, we actually already knew the secret levels in this game, but usually only found like 1 or 2 maybe, because this game, some secret levels have multiple chances to reach it via multiple normal levels. So even when not looking, you'll probably find 1 or 2 on your way. One other thing with the semi-anti-cheat thief robot, from experience, it likes to mostly take away the headlight upgrade. That's also a new item, a headlight that helps brighten up rooms a lot more, though it does cost weapon energy. Then there's the final boss. I won't show it, but let's just say without knowing how to properly defeat it, 45 minutes even with cheats. Yeah. Also, an extra warning, don't use the warp to any level cheat and invincibility cheat together. I now know that if you do this for boss levels, sometimes the boss gets the invincibility too, and they keep it even if you manually take off the cheat afterwards. Yeah. Also, the title screen menu theme is, to this day, still one of my favorite soundtracks of all time. Before we move on, Descent 2 basically has its own version of Levels of the World called the Vertigo series. Sadly though, unlike Levels of the World's 100, Vertigo only has 22. Well, that's a bit of a downgrade. I have no experience with this one at all, not even a little. Now we get into the spin-off games. Descent, Freespace, The Great War was released in 1998 and later in 2001 when it was ported to the Amiga. Once again, published by Interplay, but this time was developed by Voltalin. More on that in a bit. The story is about a human pilot who works as a starfighter fighting against other humans or an alien race. However, during this fight, a new, more dangerous alien race appears to destroy everything. So both the human race and the earlier alien race you were fighting with decide to join together to take down the new threat. The gameplay is a lot more open than the mainline games. You're not just in some underground mine, you're just straight up in space, flying around other ships, asteroids, and dodging shots from all angles. A later expansion called Silent Threat was released. It takes place after the main story events, trying to clear up the mess that it caused. Since this is a spin-off, the story is not canon to the main series. In fact, the only reason this game has Descent in the title is to avoid copyright with a disk compression program with the same name of Freespace. Volition said that the term Freespace was to describe subspace. I actually think the real reason is since Volition is made of people that split from Parallax Software, the ones that made the main series, they probably didn't like the direction the series was going and feel like their work wasn't respected enough. So if they felt cheated, what better way to get some revenge than to name the game based off a cheat code? After all, the cheat code used to warp to any level in Descent 2 is called Freespace after all. After about a little over a year of being released, the game ended up making about 4 million and selling 100,000 copies. The game overall is successful with some loving the game's graphics and enjoying the space asteroids flying about. However, there were some mixed responses. Some both liked and disliked how it felt too much like other games of Wing Commander, X-Wing, Star Wars, and Star Trek. There's the comparisons you were probably waiting for. Some both liked the story, while others felt it was too unoriginal. However, the rest was considered bad to very bad. The multiplayer back then was a complete laggy mess and unplayable. Some couldn't even get to work even well with a strong dial-up connection. Wait, dial-up has a strength? Like, even back then I feel like it didn't really have quote-unquote strength. The only two strengths I can think of is completely dead and oh my god, it has a pulse! The Silent Threat expansion wasn't getting much love either, with some, and I quote, some feeling that the story was worse than the main game due to its cold and inhuman briefings in non-player characters. Cold and inhuman! Damn! That is harsh! Back to the main series, Descent 3 was released in 1999. Developed by Outrage Entertainment and published by Interplay, it's time for another mining adventure in space. Things have become different though, as you don't need to always defeat a generator or some alien machine. Each level will have a different objective you need to complete in order to beat the level. Collect things, destroy enemies, destroy objects, and all that. After the events of Descent 2, you get rescued from the space area of Mars, because it's always Mars. This time you're working to spot a conspiracy with the company you've been working for the past 2 games. These mines have underground lab-like areas you'll be exploring. Besides the way you complete levels being different, the graphics have changed and improved once again. Also, we got some outside sections to explore, making things a bit more open, but not like the spin-off games. Later at the very end of 1999, an expansion called Descent 3 Mercenary was released. Only 7 levels and a couple multiplayer maps. I'll talk more on the multiplayer maps later. The response for the game was about the same as the first 2 games, load for its graphics at the time, and once again, careful if you have motion sickness. Gameplay was a case of no huge improvement, but if it ain't broke, don't fix it. One complaint though was the story. One said they felt like it didn't really have anything to do with the gameplay. I don't know how to respond to that, honestly. I feel like they don't have to be exact. It's just weird how that was the response. Really confused on that one. Despite some overall decent responses, this game did not sell well. I'll get more into this later, but I will say that the game sold poorly that one reviewer said that this genre is basically dead, and the expansion was something 0% of people asked for. I want to call BS on that, but I can't really say. So what's my history with this game? Many years ago, I beat the first level. And that's about it for the story. Funny enough, this was the one game I got to play some multiplayer on. It kinda sucked. I remember it being a large space of absolutely nothing. Maybe the max jumps were bad, but yeah, it's not good when you can't find the other opponent for like 10 minutes. So yeah, first level and bad multiplayer experience. Oh well.
Command, this is Alpha 2. We're in. I've got a visual on the subspace portal.
Freespace was released in late 1999, once again developed by Volition and is a direct sequel to the first Freespace. It takes place 32 years after the events of the first game, but still continuing the story from the first game. Gameplay remains basically the same as the first game, but with more ships being able to join the battle at once, giving larger fights. Graphics has also been improved, mostly with the colorful galaxies and HUD. Add-ons and expansions were in development, but Volition was told to stop by Interplay. Volition was then bought by THQ. So how was the response to this game? Well...
The music's pretty cool, and the graphics are nice and colorful. Some might call it a mixed bag. But let me tell you what kind of mixed bag.
I'm not gonna lie, I don't think I've felt so much whiplash in a long time. This game won so many awards. 5 Sci-Fi Sim Awards, 1 Space Combat Award, 1 Action Award, 1 Premier Award, Top 100 Games of All Time, and one of the Greatest Games of All Time Award. It ended up being a commercial failure and the worst sold game in the whole franchise. What? I'm not gonna lie, even though I'm still scripting this, I don't actually know what to put down. I mean, one of the awards was second place in the Best Game No One Played category, but the rest, from what I can understand, seemed like legit rewards. So yeah, I'm kinda confused how a game that got multiple awards is the worst selling game in the series. However, there is a response from the creators of Freespace 2, and yeah, this is where I gotta bring up a few things, including something I held back a bit about Descent 3. You know, earlier I said that the Freespace games were made by people that weren't happy with the direction the main series of the games was going? Yeah, well, they started playing a bit of the blame game. Volition, the creators of Freespace 2, blamed the fact that joysticks were going out of style and said that Descent 1's success was the cause. You may have difference of opinion from your previous workplace, but they are kind of the only reason you got this spin-off series to be made in the first place. They also blamed games like Quake and Wolfenstein 3D for the keyboard and mouse. Hold on. A couple of things there. First off, while Quake was in 1996 after Descent 1, so fine, I guess, but Wolfenstein 3D was back in 1992! You have no reason to use that as an example. Also, you're blaming games for a style you have no connection to whatsoever. At least with the main games, you still had keys and doors of colors like Doom, so at least the comparison made sense for those games, but not your spin-offs. Third, you're trying to say that keyboard isn't good for computer gaming and are trying to surpass it. It's a computer. You kinda need a keyboard and mouse to do anything at all. When Descent 3 didn't do so well, at least they didn't do the blame game for their failure. When they talked about keyboard and mouse, they regret not going for a more simple keyboard and mouse control setup. That being said, though, I do think all these mostly work better for mouse and keyboard. I tried joystick for one of the first 2 main Descent games a long time ago, and yeah, it sucked. It's also surprising that the people who worked on Descent 3 didn't play the blame game because they actually had a very good excuse. You know what game came out for Descent 3? You may have heard of it. It's called Half-Life. Yes, that Half-Life. Descent 3 basically had no chance whatsoever of winning at all. So yeah, the bullshit people blaming those games in the original Descent game is just dumb. Anyway, let's finally talk about my experience with Freespace 2 and the original Freespace, since you may have noticed earlier I didn't say anything during the first one section. I haven't played either of them. I own one of them somewhere around here, but we could never get it to work. We only got as far as a main menu inside a spaceship, and that's about it. Doing anything else crashed the game. Also, after doing research and seeing the gameplay, I have no interest in playing the Freespace games. They are the exact type of space games I don't like or care to play. All it is a space shooting other ships in a completely open space a la Star Wars, Star Trek, X-Wing, Star Fox, or whatever space shooting game of that kind. Those are the space story things I don't like. To me, they are overused, overdone, and are just plain boring. I'm sorry, but I'm just not interested in them. And now, this is probably going to be the most disliked video because of that. This marks the end of the released Descent games, but there's still a little more. In 2015, there was going to be a prequel called Descent Underground. However, there was an argument between Descendant Studios, the devs, and Little Orbit, the publishers. It kept getting pushed back in 2020. Basically, it got to the point where a legal battle had to take place. Oh well, rip Descent Underground. Except it took me so long to finally get around to making this video that we got a 2022 update on that legal battle. In March of 2022, a settlement agreement happened. Little Orbit, the publisher, now owns all the rights and assets to the game. They also decided to change the name back to its original name, Ships That Fight Underground, or STFU. Talking about rubbing it in their face, Jesus. Also, thanks for the name that describes basically the entire point of the game. I mean, better than what I did, basically, but still, not really a good name to keep. Please change it to something else later, if that game ever gets released anyway. In 2018, a game called Overload was released. This is basically a spiritual successor to the main series, mainly towards Descent 1 and 2. Developed and published by Revival Productions, this was from the creators of the series. The soundtrack is from the people who worked on the music from Descent 1, 2, and 3, and the story is made from the writer of Freespace 2. You can customize your ships, upgrade them, there's also a challenge mode, it even has online multiplayer. They also released a free level editor so people can make their own levels. I did buy it on Steam when a sale was going, but I haven't played it yet. So yeah, this has been a pretty small history of the Descent series, and also a bit of my history with the series. Overall, it was pretty good. You could say it did decently well. Anyway, Descent 2 will always remain as one of my most loved PC games of all time. That's all I have for you today, and... Wait. What's that? What's going on?
Material Defender, report your status! Repeat, report your status! Material Defender! Material Defender, report your location!
Speaking of releasing time, the Apple Mac version has an exclusive music track version called the Red Book Audio. This was full music tracks instead of the normal MIDI-like style. Bleh. They I will say though that trying to control a game like that with the Wii Motion Plus and or whatever, bleh. They were going into the way past the bleh. It doesn't seem to be anywhere. I couldn't find any info about bleh. The budget for this is only about 50 million more. Yep. Nope. 50 million more in 1990. Wow. Inflation's gonna hit hard on that one. Blech. There is a PlayStation version called Descent Maximum. It's apparently... bleh. It's more than more. Yep, that's English. There is a PlayStation version called Descent Maximum. It's more than more. Read this correctly, please. There is a PlayStation version called Descent Maximum. It's... also, all the versions of Descent 2... all other versions? That's not right. This is where we're talking about the new annoying bugger. Let me try that again. Nowadays, I once again don't use cheats. Now we actually already knew the secret levels in this game, but it's only to mostly take away the headlight upgrade. That's also a new item. A headlight that helps bring the thief robot also stole my voice. Once again published by Interplay, but this time was developed by Voliton. That's how I'm gonna pronounce it. If it's wrong, oh well. So both the human race and the Ely. Okay. Later, an expansion called Silent. I knew what I was about to say there. Let's not say that. The game. The Silent Hill expansion. Really? The Silent Threat, not Silent Hill. Wow. That was a slip of the tongue. The Silent Hill expansion, yeah, that'd be interesting. The Synth Space series mix of Silent Hill. That'd be an interesting thing. Though to be fair, most of the Silent Hill joke endings are about alien spaceships appearing, so... yeah. Do something with that, I guess. I don't know. Okay, nice slip of the tongue there, me. The Silent Threat expansion wasn't getting much love either, with some and bleh. The Silent Hill expansion. Oh my god. The Silent. I really want to keep saying Silent Hill. I've only watched LPs of this games. I've never actually played Silent Hill. And I keep making this mistake. Bleh. The Silent Hill oh my god, stop doing that! The Silent Threat expansion wasn't getting much love either. Oh god, stop laughing about the mistake. Bleh. Silent Hill expansion, what the yes, the evil descent. Yes, evil corporation stealing my money. Silent Hill. It was the work of aliens the whole time. However, the West was wondering what was going on. Try that again, genius. I actually think the real reason is since Volition is made up of people that split from Paradox Software. Paradox? That's not the right word. This time you're working to spot a conspiracy with the company you've been working for the past 2 games. This mines have underground. Hold on. That's not correct. It's supposed to be these mines, not this mines. I typed the wrong word. Bleh. One complaint story of the story. Gameplay has remained basically the game. That's scripted wrong. Gameplay has remained basically the game. Yeah, that's how that works. Gameplay has remained basically the... I fixed it, but almost said the same thing. This marks the end of the release Descent games, but there's still a little more. In 19... Nope, not even close. Try again. This marks the end of the release Descent games, but there's still a little more. In 19... Wow, I said the 19 something years of these games so much, I'm now saying that when it's supposed to be in the 2000s. Try again. Can't even say a year properly, apparently. So yeah, this has been a pretty small history of the Descent series, and also a bit of the Descent series. Yep, that's not right. Hold on.